Welcome everyone to Cast Iron Skillets, cooking, cleaning, and storing. I love working with cast iron skillets. They're versatile and they're also very durable if you take care of them properly. And there's something you can hand on to your children and grandchildren. They become a legacy. But over the years I've learned a number of things about cooking with cast iron skillets, and I want to share some of that information with you. First of all, cooking. Now, a lot of people will complain about using cast iron skillets. They'll say something like, well, the food cooks or sticks to my cast iron skillets. Well, there are a couple things you can do to minimize sticking to cast iron skillets. The first thing you want to do is bring the skillet up to temperature. Whatever temperature you're going to cook at. In this case, we're going to cook at 200 degrees because I'll be cooking scrambled eggs for you. So you bring the skillet up to temperature, and you also coat the cast iron skillet with some type of grease. In this case it's olive oil, but you can use butter, vegetable oil, or whatever. So those are the two key things you have to consider when you want your skillet not to stick. Bring it up to temperature and coat it with some type of oil or grease. Now, how do you know when the temperature is at the right temperature? It could be your own experience with cooking with cast iron skillets. It could be the markings on your stove, but I want to clue you into a trick I've learned recently. This is an infrared thermometer. They're cheap. You can get them online for $15. And what it does, it shoots a beam of infrared at the surface of the skillet and gives you the temperature here on the display screen. In this case, it's about 200 degrees in the center of the skillet. And so that's probably ideal for scrambled eggs. So I urge you to get one of these infrared thermometers. They work great and they're cheap. So I've got one scrambled egg, so we have to make do with this. If I bake the steak, that's it, folks. Now I know there's a debate about cooking scrambled eggs. Some people like their scrambled eggs really hard and like marbles almost. I'm not of that school. I like my scrambled eggs a little bit soft and even runny. I just think it has more flavor and I just like the texture. You'll notice I'm using a plastic spatula. That's another thing you should consider using, either plastic or wooden utensils with cast iron. The reason being is that you don't want to use metals because the metal can scratch the seasoning of your cast iron skillets. And you don't want to do that because you've gone to a lot of trouble to season these cast iron skillets. So plastic or wood. Now you might be wondering what kind of device I'm using to heat up the skillet. This is an induction plate. This works very well with cast iron skillets and pots and also stainless steel. With induction plates, the skillet or pot has to have some iron in it. It uses a magnetic field to create heat. So if you have aluminum pots or skillets, they will not work on induction plates. You can see some sticking. Nothing's perfect, but if I had not brought the skillet up to temperature or used any oil, I think that's about right. And that's about how I like my scrambled eggs. Now let me show you how I clean my cast iron skillets. There are a number of ways to do it, and I've tried a number of ways, but I think I've landed on a really good way of doing this. So let me show you how it's done. So what you ideally want to do is clean your skillet when it's still warm. That way you further reduce sticking. And make sure your tap water is as hot as you can get. And so you put it under the water like that, and you use your plastic spatula or your wooden utensil and scrape out whatever is remaining in your skillet. Now normally this will suffice just using your spatula or your wooden utensil. But what I want to show you, if you still have stuff sticking to this, there is something else you can do. Now some people use coarse salt to get anything that's still sticking. And I've tried that, but I think I've found a better way to do this. Let me show you what it looks like. This is chainmail. They're welded links, and this will get off anything that's stuck to your cast iron skillet. You can get this online, and they're cheap. So put it under the water again. You probably want to turn the temperature down a little bit because you're going to have your hands in here. And make sure that the chainmail is flat. You don't want to bunch it up like this because then you will scratch your skillet. So you put it in flat like this and just rub it around. And this will take off anything that's still sticking, and it will not destroy the seasoning in your cast iron skillet. I think that's about done. And then what you do, get some paper towel, or you can use some rags, and wipe this out. Get it as dry as you can. And then the next thing you want to do to properly clean is put it back on your heat source and bring it up to temperature, probably medium high, and what this does, it drives out any remaining moisture, because you don't want moisture in your cast iron skillet because it's iron and it'll rust. So this will cast out any remaining moisture. It also opens the pores in the skillet, which is important because what you want to do, once you've got this up to temperature, you pour a little bit of oil back in there, and I would say the size of a quarter. You don't want to put a lot of oil in here. I've seen some people put a whole bunch of oil in here, and that's not good. What you'll use is, again, a rag. Let's just assume for the moment that this is dried out and everything, and the pores have opened up. And you just wipe it down like this, just a little bit of oil, not too much. Otherwise, what'll happen is that your cast iron skillet will get sticky, and that's exactly what you don't want. So you do the inside like this, spread it around, and do the sides too. And then what you want to do, you want to cool this. And so what I normally do, I have an a wire rack out, and I put it there and I let it cool. And then after it cools, I wipe it down again because there will be some remaining oil in here. You wipe it down, get all the remaining oil out there, and then to store it, I put it up like this at home. But if you don't have something like this, you can put it in a drawer or a cabinet or something like that. What you don't want to do is nest any skillets because you want you want free flow of air. So that's the way I cook, clean, and store my cast iron skillets. On a personal note, just want to let you know this is my last day here at Scott County Library. I've been here for 17.5 years. I've enjoyed working here at Scott County Library, working with my fellow workers here, and getting to know you, the patrons. You've been wonderful to me. I've gotten to know you, I've gotten to know your happy times and your sad times. And when we moved here to Kentucky in 2002, I didn't know much about Kentucky, and I didn't know much about Scott County, but I got to know you, the patrons, by working here at the library. And I'll be eternally grateful for that. So I wish you well, and God's blessings on you.